Hello everyone, my name is Erin Lee and today I will be speaking to you about some of the projects I've worked on over the summer to support Abbott's business as a high school intern. So just a little bit about me. I am an incoming college student at Case Western Reserve University all the way in Ohio. I am from California and this is my second year as a high school intern here at Abbott Vascular. I had the privilege of working with EHS under Brian Anchilpa this year. Now, rather than working on just one main project over the summer, I actually had the opportunity to work on several different projects and goals throughout the course of my time here. I will briefly go through each of these projects that I've worked on, but if at any time you have any questions or would simply like a more in-depth, detailed explanation of some of these projects, please feel free to use the chatting system as provided, and I will be happy to answer any questions then. A copy of my PowerPoint is also linked in the booth itself. So one of the first main projects I worked on was an impact assessment project. For this project, I used Viewpoint to determine which documents are used by the Menlo Park and North Point facilities. If you don't know what these terms mean, Viewpoint is essentially just a database system. Menlo Park and North Point are both sites that are a part of the Structural Heart Facility. The Structural Heart Facility is currently in the process of becoming its own separate facility apart from Abbott Vascular, which is where I had the opportunity to intern at this year. So, it was crucial that we organize what and how certain documents and resources are used by this facility for a smoother transition. Next, I worked on an industrial hygiene equipment inventory in which I created a calibration schedule and built a check-in and check-out process for line item use. This system essentially contributed to creating a more efficient way for employees to use any industrial hygiene equipment as needed. Here's a small screenshot of a section of the inventory system I created for your reference. Then I worked on a medical surveillance program, which implemented the use of a consolidated system of record called QuickBase to improve medical surveillance tracking and compliance. So this allowed occupational health to become more efficient as it cut down significant time. QuickBase is essentially an updated version of Excel with more functions and properties that allow you to organize your data as you would like. So with this system, with what I was able to do, the system manually notifies occupational health staff of upcoming medical surveillances without them having to manually search for each employee every time they think that there is a medical surveillance coming up for that employee. So I was able to identify employees who are still active and inactive to increase the efficiency of uploading all of their information to QuickBase. I was also able to cut down time and create efficiency by using formulas and creating them on Excel spreadsheets to populate all of the information that I needed in order to upload information in bulk instead of having to manually go through each and every single piece of data. Last, just not to mention, I am still working on this project because I am getting trained in certain areas, but I expect this project to be completed by the end of my internship this summer. Last but not least, the majority of my time here was actually spent tracking and reporting COVID-19 vaccination status attestations per Cal OSHA and Abbott COVID protocols. In other words, it was my duty to track and report the COVID vaccinations that employees were getting and reporting those numbers in order to create the healthiest and safest environment that we could for the employees here on the Abbott Vascular site. In addition to these bigger main 4 projects I worked on, I have contributed to my department with smaller but equally as impactful roles that I would also like to quickly mention. These include creating content for the EHS newsletter, promoting COVID-19 vaccinations for National Immunization Month. This type of content is what employees will usually see on the TVs or certain bulletin boards around campus. I also helped maintain AED or automatic external defibrillator compliance. I triaged phone calls for occupational health in the clinic to complete an initial intake of cases, and supported on-site COVID testing as well as the on-site COVID vaccination programs recently by registering employees for their vaccinations up in the clean rooms. Lastly, I want to thank my team for making sure that as soon as I came on site, I became BLS or Basic Life Support and First Aid trained so that I would be prepared to assist in any medical responses that came up. And here is just one example of content I created for the EHS newsletter. For these projects that I've worked on, there were many key outcomes that I acquired. First, I learned how to use multiple databases and how they work together to achieve an end goal. This was especially helpful for the COVID vaccination attestation project. Next, I learned how to problem solve and network efficiently by constantly reaching out to different members of our team, even those that were outside of our site, to ensure that I was using my resources to the best of my abilities to complete my project successfully. Lastly, I believe I contributed to creating an efficient system for all of my projects, but particularly the equipment inventory and medical surveillance projects I mentioned. Now, before I wrap this up, I would like to give a big thank you to my manager and supervisor, Brian DeWitt and Shilpa Patel. Brian was very good with not only answering any and all questions I had, but he really explained everything I needed to know above and beyond, and I feel that because of him, I was able to learn as much as I hope I contributed to the EHS department. Shilpa allowed me to experience many hands-on activities and always made sure to check in with me at the beginning and at the end of my shift, no matter how busy she was with her schedule. I would also like to thank the rest of my team listed here for creating such a welcoming and enjoyable internship experience. I would not have gotten my projects completed without their support. I want to give a big shout out to Lynn and Great Oak High School as well for presenting the opportunity to intern in the first place, but also for setting us interns up for success. And lastly, thank you all for being here and listening to my presentation through this video. And again, if you would like a more in-depth explanation of some of these projects I've talked about, you are more than welcome to ask your questions in the chatting tool linked in my booth, and you are free to visit the copy of my presentation that you've just watched in this video again for an overview of what I've talked about. Thank you again, and I hope you have a good day.